Hello, this is One Taker Mex with my entry into the UK Otaku podcast, Dubs v Subs or Subs v Dubs, depending on your point of view. I am going to give my opinions on why I think, well, not even why I think one is better than the other. I'm going to give the pros and cons to both sides, and then I'm going to make a decision at the very end. So, with that in mind, let's try to go through the list of some of the pros and cons, because I don't think I'm going to be able to fit all of them onto one video in the depth that they really need to go through. And it is much better to do this with at least two people so there can be a bit of back and forth, especially if the two people have differing opinions. But nonetheless, this is a solo mission, thus I'm only going to be able to give so much, and with such a time limit. So the first thing I want to talk about is what makes a dub bad, in a sense. Because everyone always has this thing of, that was a bad dub, but there's always different reasons why it was a bad dub. There's the ones where it's, well, they didn't say everything that they said in the subtitles, therefore they were changing the dialogue and that made it wrong, and that's why it's a bad dub. And then there's the more common, surprisingly enough, of, oh, well, that voice actor didn't sound like the Japanese voice actor, so it was, the Japanese voice actor was much better than that. And I always feel that's a biased opinion, because a lot of the times it's because you heard the subtitle first, and if you watch the subtitle version first, all the way through, you have come to identify that voice with that character, and that's given you a bias. And so instead of thinking of, well, this guy, of course he's not going to be as good as the original, but he's still doing a fairly good job. I like his interpretation of the character. It's like Doctor Who. You don't expect every single regeneration to be exactly the same character, done exactly the same way, just by a different actor. There is going to be a bit of a difference in the performance, because it's how the actor interprets the character. And sometimes this can be for the worse, but sometimes it can actually be for the better. But a lot of people won't give it that chance. They won't give the actor or actress, or I think they all just call themselves actors now, give them that chance to be recognized for their efforts and their interpretations of the characters, because they've got this distinct of, well, it doesn't sound, what I say doesn't sound like what the Japanese did, so therefore it's a terrible. And yeah, that's just unfair. And I think with that, I'm going to add in a clip here of, done on video, of someone's fan panel comic of Hitalia, using the characters of Canada, Ukraine, and England and France also make a appearance. Although if you watch the dub, it's Britain, which I think is much more accurate than calling him England. You're using the wrong flag. They're using the UK flag, the Union flag, thus it should be at least Britain or UK. It should not just be England, because he does not. England, while having the majority, does not represent all of the UK. Yes, that's my own little personal rant on reasons why I don't like Italia in general. But nonetheless, I'm going to play you these. Now, the first one is going to be German, and the second one is going to be the English version. And I'm going to let you decide for yourself which one you think is the better.
Ah, da ist er ja. Entschuldigen Sie, Mr. America! Mr. America, bitte warten Sie! Mr. America, ich würde gern mit Ihnen über meinen Bruder sprechen.
Sorry, aber ich bin Kanada.
Oh nein, ich weiß diese Gefühle. Sein trauriger Gesicht. Ich bin schlecht, ich bin schrecklich. Entschuldige nicht. Oh Kanada, es tut mir so leid. Es ist nur du und dein Bruder, ihr seid so ähnlich. Und ich...
Aaron, oh mein Gott, ich hab sie zum Weinen gebracht. Ach, du bist so ein Idiot. Du warst sowas. Ukraine, hör auf. Es ist nicht so schlimm. Das passiert mir ständig. Ich bin daran gewöhnt.
Wirklich?
Ja, ey.
Es tut mir so leid, Kanada.
Wow, Ukraine ist so hübsch, sogar wenn sie weint. Wenn ich einen auf Locke mache, könnten wir vielleicht ausgehen.
Er ist halt französisch. Und ein wahrer Gentleman.
Keine Sorge, Titzwegen, du hast dein Brisses gegeben.
Oh mein Gott!
Kanada, dein Akzent ist so süß.
And here's the English version.
Oh, there he is. Excuse me, Mr. America. Mr. America, please wait. Mr. America, I'd like to talk to you about my brother.
Sorry, but I'm Canada.
Oh no, I hurt his feelings. His face is so sad. I'm terrible. I'm awful. Apologize. Oh, Canada, I'm so sorry. It's just you and your brother look so alike, and I...
Maple, oh my god, I made her cry! Ah, I'm such a horrible person! Make her stop, make her stop! Ukraine, stop! It's no big deal. People mix us up all the time. I mean, we're used to it.
Really?
Yeah, eh?
I really am sorry, Canada.
Wow, Ukraine's really pretty, even when she cries. Maybe if I act real smooth, we could hang out.
He's part French.
And pure gentleman.
Don't worry about tits. You did your breasts. Oh my god!
Canada, your accent is so adorable.
Didn't you think the German version was so much better? I mean, the English attempt, you know, the pale imitation of what the Germans did, it just wasn't quite up to scratch, was it? It wasn't bad, but, you know, oh wait a minute, I've got that wrong. It's the English is the original version. But, didn't you think for a sec there that the German version was better because you thought it was the original? Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? If something is presented to you first in a foreign language, sometimes, not always, but it does come to you as a bias of, well, that must be the better one, automatically. And it's not. By the way, both versions are incredibly good, and you may have even recognized a certain voice, and my god, I think I sound so sexy in German. I love my German voice. I really wish I did sound like that. Yeah. Brief shameless plug to the fan project that I was in. But seriously, both versions were pretty good, but I do, in actual fact, prefer the German version. Got that foreign touch to it that makes me slightly more biased, plus I love my German voice. Anyway, moving on from that. But yeah, if it sometimes things when they sound foreign, they sound better. I listen to an awful lot of Japanese music. Yes, some of it is anime, but some of it is not. I've actually progressed anime theme tunes, although nowadays it feels like a rarity to actually theme tune or a closing theme tune that is actually about the anime itself. So it's more of a promotion for the bands that is playing than it is an opening for the anime nowadays, I feel. But that's just my opinion on something else that I may cover at another date. But yeah, I feel that on dubs versus subs, you have to remember as well that apart from the animes that did so poorly that they were just sold to these dubbing companies just on the way of, well, this didn't do anything, please take it, do whatever you want to it. Apart from those from Japan that is dubbed or redistributed to a worldwide audience not directly from Japan, has to be heavily agreed upon on what changes they can and cannot make. There was an instance with Media Blaster when they were going to distribute a kaiju movie and they added an extra to the DVD that the Japanese did not agree on, and so the Japanese took away their rights to distribute that kaiju movie and further suspended their ability to release other DVDs as well that they had previously licensed. They suspended them too before they could send them off. So, and that's the same with anime. Everything has to be agreed upon in the dubs. If the dub voices are not up to the standards that the Japanese company owners, directors, etc., is an acceptable level, then they will not allow them to be distributed at all. That's just the way it is. That is their rules on the subject. So every time you say, well, that's a bad dub, oh, why did they pick that voice actor? It's totally not correct for that character. The Japanese would hate that. They agreed to it. The Japanese agreed to it. They said, yes, that's fine. They may not have said, oh my god, that's excellent. They may have just gone, it's acceptable. It doesn't mean it's going to be great. So yeah, you can't use the bias on like, oh my god, like you say the people who directed this in Japanese, or the people who voiced these characters in the Japanese, the people voicing this, the people who directed, the people who voiced must be going, oh my god, how terrible of a dub. Oh, I wish I'd never been affiliated with this. They're not, because they agreed to it. So you can't argue with them there. There's also this misconception that subs are more accurate. Subs are exactly what they're saying, or the most accurate way of knowing what in the original Japanese they are saying. This is not actually entirely true. It is mostly true, and it is probably more accurate than most dubs, but it's not 100% foolproof. Depending upon who translated them, how they were translated, was it an official fan sub, etc., etc., you can get discrepancies, you can get really bad subtitles too. There's always been those classic mistakes that have been made in subtitles. I might try to find one or two to put up. If I can't, you could probably find them just by googling bad subs. But there are mistakes made. There can be people who have translated it wrong. If it was an English person translating it from their understanding of Japanese into subtitles, they could have gone the direct route. As for which one comes out first being the deciding factor for the popularity of one over the other, that's no longer becoming such a thing, because we have simulcast, so that the dub will turn up at the exact same time as the Japanese does. So the dub will sometimes come up before the sub. The raw will come out definitely before the dub does, because even simulcasting, there's still at least an hour, I think, or something. There is a time delay, but not much of one. But it's still, the raw will come out first, but subtitles are officially starting to come after the dub for those particular simulcasts. But yeah, sometimes there is a middle language involved in the translations to get it from raw to sub to English sub, as it were, and for the dubs. So sometimes it's not always the person who translated it from whatever other language they're translating it. If you put a sentence into Babelfish and then have that language that you translated into Babelfish translated back into English, you'll get a completely different sentence. And stuff like that can happen too. So yes, everyone who believes that just subs are faster and better, that's not 100% true. It is at the moment for the most part true, but as I said, if you can support your dubs, they will get better. They have been getting better. It's been getting better since the 90s, Nuge. Sorry, I'm gonna name drop right there, but Nuge, every single time you argue like, oh, I don't like dubs, they do this, but I don't watch dubs, but the dubs that I have watched, which I don't watch dubs, they have this in, they have that, it's terrible this, it's terrible voice acting, it's terrible translations, they've edited it to this extent. It's like, yes, thank you, that was the 90s. And while, yes, it still does happen today, it happens fewer and fewer, and it is getting better and better. And so, I'm gonna make a judgment call here and tell you where I come down, and that is that subs are better. I know, it's weird because I've been making it sound like I'm totally gonna go dubs are better than subs. And I think there may come the day when they can be equal. And in some regards, the dubs can be better, but only for the audience that it was intended to watch it. The Japanese are not going to watch the English and go, oh yeah, we're going to watch the English subtitles because it's so much better than the Japanese. I don't think that's going to happen, at least no time soon. But hey, maybe one day it will. Probably not, but maybe. But I think subtitles in general are better. They tend to be more accurate, And the Japanese voice actors, if they're playing Japanese characters, tend to be a lot better and a lot more accurate. But that's another thing that dubs will do. They adaptate the characters to a Western audience. One of the examples that they had in the podcast when they announced this competition was Aizen in the Japanese and the dub. And apart from changing the words a little bit, instead of saying the Japanese word for spiritual power or whatever it is, because I really wasn't paying that much attention to what the... I was listening to how it was being said, not what was being said. And I guess that could be my problem with saying, yes, this is a good or bad dub, because it's sometimes how it's said, not as what is said. As long as the general message gets across, and sometimes that's in tone. But the way I heard it, I think that the Japanese was going for a more, I am powerful and I don't care. Let's say, but I sound deep and powerful. Whereas, and that's like a Japanese thing, I'm guessing. That, you know, I'm the villain, thus I have a very deep and powerful voice. Whereas in the English, he sounded really laid back. And it made more sense to me because he's flaunting how he is so much more powerful and how the protagonist has no chance of winning. But he's doing it in such like a lazy, like, I gave you all the chances and you didn't do anything. What a waste of time. Whereas in the Japanese version, he sounds like he is literally going like, so you haven't changed at all. You wasted the chance I gave you to get more powerful. What a waste of time. It's more because it sounds deeper, but it sounds like he's trying to show that he's more powerful in the Japanese via still having that deep and powerful voice, whereas in the adaptation, it's come across to the more powerful villain of, I'm more powerful than you because I'm also more intelligent than you. But again, that's my view. It may be different for you. You may say, well, no, the Japanese version is better because of that, and the English version was terrible. But again, as I say, everything in this comes down to personal preference. I've gone rambling on, but thank you for listening. And yes, while I do, and I end this note on saying, while I do say subs are better, do support your dubs. Give them a chance, because they won't get better if you don't give them the chance to be better. And that's it till next time. What makes a good or bad dub? You decide. Leave a comment down below. Or something. Bye.